welcome to the Business Brunch. I'm Richard Rosser of B4, and this morning I'm joined by Phil Southall and Andrew Morrison of Oxford Bus Company, Hayley Beer-Gamage of Experience Oxfordshire, and Dave Harrison of Oxfordshire County Council. So if maybe starting with Phil, you could just briefly introduce yourselves and give us a bit of background about yourself.
Yes, good morning, everybody. So I'm Phil, the Managing Director for Oxford Bus Company, and I've been obviously making the best of what is a bad situation throughout this crisis to continue to deliver bus services for those that need to use them throughout.
Brilliant. Andy?
I'm Andy Morrison, Head of Customer Experience for Oxford Bus Company. Much like Phil, trying to keep the ship moving and trying to keep our customers feeling happy and reassured about the safety of bus travel, and get things back to normal as soon as we can.
Excellent. And Hayley, good to have you.
Thanks, Richard. I'm Hayley, the Chief Executive of Experience Oxfordshire, which is the destination management organisation for Oxfordshire. And obviously, we have been working really hard to support businesses throughout the pandemic because the sector has been severely impacted by COVID-19, and it's going to be a really long road to recovery. And hopefully, we can all work together and support that.
Excellent. And finally, Dave.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dave Harrison. I'm a Senior Public Transport Planner at Oxfordshire County Council, and my role is to basically design and deliver bus services funded by developers, and also to act as the main liaison point between bus operators and the council.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dave. Well, good to have you all with us. And as Phil, as you referenced, it's been a challenging year, to say the least. So how is the bus company adapting to the changing demands of the travelling public?
Well, I think the avoid public transport message that the government put out fairly early on in the pandemic has really been quite damaging to our industry. So we got off to a bad start on that. We recognised the fact that it was an unknown virus. It wasn't really well understood at the beginning, but really that message has stuck with people throughout. So even though that message has now been removed, a lot of people still think that they need to avoid public transport. So a lot of our work has been focused on building confidence. So we've been focusing on making sure that all of our vehicles receive an enhanced clean each night, and making sure that we reiterate that to customers that they are getting on buses that are clean and safe. We have put social distancing in place on our vehicles as well. So the maximum capacities are between 45 and 60% of normal. So if people get onto a bus, they will be sitting one passenger per double seat at the moment. So we've been trying to say there is enough space to reiterate that message. And we've been doing a lot of work as well on making the ticketing simple and straightforward. So in terms of people previously paid cash, we now have contactless payments, which we've had for quite a while, but more people are using them. Around about 3/4 of people now who pay a fare on the bus are using contactless payments, just to avoid that interaction. And we've also been basically stressing how safe buses are during what has been a terrible time for everybody, and there are passengers who have continued to travel throughout, and I'm sure if you spoke to those, they would say what a good experience it's been really under the circumstances.
And you mentioned the word stress there, and the message you're having to stress to your customers, but obviously those potentially that have avoided using the bus, how, Andy, are you on the sort of customer experience side of things ensuring that you reinforce that message that their journey will be safe and stress-free, doing things like helping to create more tailored journey plans and making paying fares as simple as possible? How are you overcoming those barriers to hopping back on the bus?
Well, I guess this is where sort of the technology comes in, as well as the marketing. So all the things Phil mentioned about enhanced cleaning regimes and doing all of those things, we've recorded videos about that, and to literally show people as clearly as possible that this is what we're doing. We're using the state-of-the-art cleaning chemicals, and undertaking multiple times per day, touch point cleaning, all those kinds of things. Just showing people what we're doing that may not be visible to them when they're actually traveling with us. The other part is really about empowering the customer pre-journey, so that they know when they turn up at the bus stop, they can see how far away their bus is, and how busy their bus is going to be. So that's we've got this predictive engine that will tell you in advance, even days in advance, how many people we expect to be on a bus, so that that if your journey was originally going to be on a very busy bus, you could replan it for 20 minutes either side, and get on a bus that is going to be less busy. So that's part of it. In addition to that, really, we're enhancing what we've already got. So we've got a new website and mobile app in development at the moment that's going to show real-time bus occupancy data. So you can see the bus coming down the road, and you'll know that there's 15 people on it, and then you can decide whether or not you're comfortable with that. So really just leveraging everything we have, and keeping that messaging about cleanliness and social distancing front of mind for our customers.
And how are the numbers looking? I mean, are you seeing the confidence coming back into the public, or is it still going to be quite a battle, do you think, over the next few months with different messaging coming out, as Phil's already referenced?
I mean, yeah, we're definitely looking at a bit of a struggle, really. We did see some, as previous lockdowns were lifted, we did see a positive sort of rebound, but it's certainly absolutely nowhere near pre-COVID levels. So, I think we've really got our work cut out for us in that respect. And that's where I think we need to be working collaboratively, and actually not just making buses safe and reinforce that message, but also try to make bus the transport mode of choice, really. And that's where we're working with Dave and his colleagues to try and achieve that.
Brilliant. Well, nice segue on to Dave. So Dave, we can obviously talk about air quality and reducing congestion, but I would imagine, I don't know whether you've got any stats about or figures to show what changes have happened to air quality over the past 12 months. It must be quite a positive impact, although the climate advocates will tell us that it's not really made that much of a difference. So there has been a significant difference with less traffic on the road.
Yes, I mean, I don't deal with air quality directly myself, but the reduction in traffic has obviously been, well, particularly a benefit to bus punctuality. I think we've seen some of the highest punctuality figures we've seen for a very long time in Oxford over the last few months. While it's been, I mean, the most recent lockdown wasn't the same. Traffic levels have been much higher than they were certainly in the first lockdown, but that's been a benefit to everyone because we've seen more people out and about, sort of cycling and walking and as well, and fewer people using cars. So generally speaking, we found that buses have had to be waiting around to try and keep on time rather than fighting to catch up all day. But in terms of what the council's been doing as well over the last sort of year or so to support the bus operators, we have central government and local government have both been quite proactive in ensuring that bus services can carry on. The government is paying a special grant to bus operators to maintain their services at a higher level than would otherwise be commercially viable. And the council has been maintaining its contract payments for those services that operators run as contract to us, and also our concessionary fares payments for travel by older and disabled people. And we've also had to really work hand in glove with the operators on the frequent service changes that they've had to make as a result of changing travel demand. So we've been working quite closely with them, and we look forward to that continuing over the next 12 months.
And Hayley, in terms of moving over to you, in terms of welcoming domestic and international tourists in a post-COVID world, it seems like we never actually quite get to that post-COVID world, does it? But obviously with recent news coming out about very little chance of us having summer holidays, the opposite obviously is true, and we won't be getting too many international tourists in. So give us a bit of insight into things in your world.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. I mean, number one, it's all around really instilling consumer confidence. And there's a few things that businesses across the visitor economy can do to help themselves there. One is make sure that they're signing up to the Visit England We're Good to Go accreditation, which I certainly know that Oxford Bus Company and their suite of services that they operate have already got that accreditation. And that is really saying that businesses are taking, health and safety and hygiene protocols really seriously. And we know that domestically that's really important. We saw that in the summer when things were opened up a little bit. Now, linked in with that, that's massively moved on, and the World Travel and Tourism Council have now aligned with the We're Good to Go standard and has given an accreditation called Safe Travels, which means that any business which has got We're Good to Go accreditation automatically now gets the Safe Travels accreditation, and that is globally recognised. So as we come to welcome people back internationally, that's really important because they're going to be looking for those safety standards, those charters of excellence, and it's really important. We currently have over 500 businesses across Oxfordshire which have this accreditation. I'd like to see that be much, much more, because ultimately that is going to be key to helping drive consumer confidence going forward. So it's all around instilling consumer confidence and making sure as a destination, we are perceived to be safe to come and visit when it is appropriate to do so. Linked in with that, as and when consumers will return is a concern. We've all been on this lockdown roller coaster. We certainly thought we wouldn't be in lockdown Mark 3 now. And really a lot of businesses have had to be closed for well over 6 months in the past 12-month period, and have been operating to volumes of under 10%. It has been extremely hard for businesses across the visitor economy out there. In normal times, visitor economy brings in £2.5 billion a year into Oxfordshire and supports 40,000 jobs. And again, in normal times, nearly half of that revenue comes from the inbound market. And with everything we see on the news, we just don't know how and when the inbound markets are going to return. And some of the sentiment research that's coming through is whilst there's been a real, I suppose, rise in interest in the domestic market in terms of booking as the season carries on, but confidence doesn't really spike until October this year, and 30% of the population still don't see things returning to normal until 2022. So these businesses which have been hit, and visitor economy was the first to be hit by the pandemic, and it will be the last to reopen. They need more support, an extra lifeline to keep getting through this really difficult time. And I think to really concur with what Phil said at the start, the transport messaging has been catastrophic for the guys that work in the transport industry. Actually, as you've heard from Andy, the protocols that they've taken have been world class in terms of making sure things are safe for customers. But that government messaging, it still resonates, even though the restrictions and the roadmap has changed massively. It still resonates, and we've got to try and get confidence in consumers getting back out again, because actually in normal times our public transport is world class, world leading. Oxfordshire is fantastically connected, and we've got to try to work together to get back to that point.
And yeah, you're referencing collaboration, which Andy mentioned earlier. Obviously all you guys are in conversations with each other on a regular basis, but I know all the points that you've made, Hayley, but what can we all do to, in a very difficult and grim picture, to start instilling this confidence back into the local public? Just keep talking to them, keep messaging.
Well, I think one of the things we need to work on, Richard, is there are going to be people who have not come into Oxford for perhaps a year now. So it's how do we persuade them to make that first step? So there's a mix of things, really. We're looking at what we can do with employers, because again, some employers have had to give assurances to their employees that they don't have to use public transport during the pandemic, and they were almost forced to do that because employers were saying, "Oh, you told me not to use public transport, so you need to provide me with some more car parking, please, or come up with some other way to get to work." So we're about to start some work with employers if they wish to offer an incentive for their employees to get back to work, and they wish to offer a discount, we will match that discount. People could end up with a really of discount. Park and ride in particular is really problematic. In the crisis, it's gone down to as low as 8% of normal. And just imagine Oxford without park and ride. It's unimaginable, to be quite honest. It's been there since 1973. It's been something that people have got used to doing on a day-to-day basis over the years. But people will look at the sites now and see that they're virtually empty. We really need to get people back into the mindset that using park and ride is absolutely fine. It's safe. Using buses is just as safe as doing anything else in society, if not more safe. People have said we clean our buses more than people clean their own houses and cars. Because they are cleaned literally daily with materials that give it a clinical clean as you would in a hospital. So we really just need to keep working and reiterating that safety message, we really need to reiterate that if people want city centres to be successful, or continue to be successful and be successful again, like they have been in Oxford for many years, then you are going to need people to use public transport, and a healthy public transport system leads to healthy town and city centres. And collectively, we just need to keep pushing that message that everything's okay, and coax people back onto public transport, and we're ready when they are. So we're coming up with marketing slogans, like back to bus, build back better, things that other industries are doing as well. But we will be just trying to resonate with people. It's now time to get back to doing the positive things, because we'll need to do this if we're going to meet our zero carbon targets too.
Brilliant, Phil. Thank you. And Dave, from accountancy's perspective, obviously you've got your fair share of challenges, as you always have, and I think the general public, on the whole, probably underappreciates and doesn't appreciate the challenges that you face with limited and reducing funding. But what would you like to see happen over the next 6 months in terms of echoing what Phil said about restoring that confidence and getting businesses back to work?
Yeah, I think that Phil and his colleagues, and also other operators, have done an absolutely fantastic job in ensuring that their vehicles are safe, and that this is something that has been recognised in sort of dispatches programs, for example, have found that buses and trains are amongst the safest place to be. All the research points to buses and trains being amongst the safest areas you can be in, and I think that this is the kind of message we just need to get over to people. I think the next 12 months are going to be very interesting. I'm sure that we'll all touch on the National Bus Strategy shortly, but we have got a period before National Bus Strategy sort of things kick in, of recovery and making sure that the bus network stays viable for those people who want to use it, and we're still awaiting details of how the government is going to help us over that period to April 2022 with some funding to ensure that these services remain in place, and there's obviously going to be a lot of work between ourselves and the bus operators in Oxfordshire to ensure that we can keep a network running, and whilst alongside the work that they're doing to keep everyone safe.
Excellent. Andy and Hayley, in closing, I don't know if you want to add anything to what Dave and Phil have already said. Starting with you, Andy.
No, not a whole lot. I mean, it's really it's one of the biggest worries, aside from what's already been said about confidence, is just congestion and traffic levels of people, erroneously assume that cars are safer, or they must travel by car now, and as if congestion wasn't bad before COVID. It could be potentially much worse if that's not reinforced enough. And whilst we're probably going to see more home working, as a permanent thing, certainly that's what the business community is saying. That's fine to an extent, but we need to have some predictability in how journey times are going to be, and that all feeds into congestion management and public transport promotion. So everything we can be doing on that needs to be done, really.
Hayley, a rallying call for your sector, if you can do that with any sort of certainty. It's very difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think the one thing that we've got to remember is as we re-emerge from this, and when we re-emerge from this, we are going to see a new level of competitiveness in destination terms that we haven't seen before, because every part of the country has been hit by this pandemic. And every part of the country are going to want to attract visitors back. And visitors aren't just people from afar, they are your locals, and they are your regionals, and they are your nationals. And we've got to make sure that as Oxford and Oxfordshire, we are seen as being welcoming. Part of the destination strategy is all around increasing dwell time. We want people to stay longer, enjoy the city and the county experience. And key and integral to that happening is use of public transport, because we're not a car-friendly city or county, quite frankly. You know, we need the public transport to be able to get around, and to be able to get around in a sustainable way. And that's really going to help the productivity agenda and the sustainability agenda from destination terms. And we've got to be front of mind as Oxfordshire in terms of wanting to welcome people back to the city and the county. And we've got to make it really clear that Oxfordshire wants to welcome people back, wants to welcome visitors back when it is safe to do so, and they will be welcomed in a great Oxfordshire way.
Well, I mean, I think you're right. I think there's going to be a huge appetite. People have missed things, haven't they? Maybe things that they didn't really fully appreciate when they had access to them. Now, we spent a lot of time in university parks recently, and it's a place we wouldn't normally have gone to. But I think when we can all get back, there'll be a lot of local use of these fantastic facilities and venues that we've got and that we just taken for granted.
And that's exactly what I'd like to see, actually, Richard, is let's no longer be complacent as a destination, that we're automatically going to be the destination of choice. Let's work hard for it. Let's appreciate the visitor economy and support those businesses and those jobs and everything that there is across Oxfordshire, which really helps. I mean, you know our strapline, but it really does help make Oxfordshire a great place to live, work, visit and do business. And let's really have that pride in place for Oxfordshire as we come out of this pandemic.
Brilliant. Well, there's anything we can do at B4 to help emphasise that message, then I'd be happy to do so. Phil, last word with you.
Yeah, well, the roadmap now has been laid out by the Prime Minister. We really are all praying that we can stick to that roadmap, certainly in regards to the buses. The 12th of April is a key date where in effect we're putting back the buses the way they will be for the foreseeable future. So the only way is up, really. And that's when we're going to start getting people back. We're also restarting our city sightseeing tours to support what Hayley's saying, to make sure that we can give tourists, when they're allowed to come, the absolute best experience possible. We're also working on ticketing. So a lot of employers are saying, well, if I'm only coming in part-time, is there going to be a suitable ticket for me that allows me to work 2 to 3 days a week? And the answer to that is yes. We'll be looking at how you can buy tickets more in bundles. We're looking at how you can use capping as required in the National Bus Strategy to be smart and more intelligent to give people the best deal. So really, we're hoping that come the 12th of April, we can all look forward to make sure that we don't end up in another situation where we're having to discourage people from coming to Oxford. And we really want to all work together to look forward. As Dave alluded to, it's an exciting time with the National Bus Strategy just issued by government as well. The government's giving a very strong message that it wishes to invest in public transport, particularly in buses for the first time. It's the first time we've actually had a bus strategy ever. So we're very keen at working with Hayley and with Dave and with businesses in Oxfordshire to make sure that we put the most successful bus network in that we can, to make sure that Oxford and Oxfordshire continues to be a success as it has been for many years. So in many ways, it's exciting times if we can just get through this awful period for everybody and begin to look forward from the 12th of April and beyond.
Well, thank you, Phil, and thanks to all of you, and thanks to all that you do. You've all been through, I mean, we've all had it, haven't we? But you've been through a hell of a year, and to keep it going as you have done is remarkable, really. Hopefully we're in the last straight, but it seems like that finish line keeps getting further and further away, doesn't it? But hopefully it's not too far off, and we can hopefully see the floodgates open and everybody start to get back to some sort of normal from 12th of April onwards. But thank you, Andy. Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Phil. And hey, good to see you all.